Kids also can be very bold and out there and far less, inhibited than adults sometimes, which means they sometimes ask really tough questions right up front. And it can throw a parent for a loop when they ask questions. So, for example, they hear that their sibling is very sick and in the hospital. Not uncommon for a child to say, "Is she going to die?" For a parent, even if the parent has thought about that possibility, even if the parent knows, in fact, that that's likely to happen, hearing it asked can be very disarming. So anticipating, and sometimes, again, a third party can help you anticipate what some of the hard questions might be. If you've heard those questions, and sometimes you've thought a little bit about what you would want your child to know and what you would want to say to them, or having another person help you think about what you want to say to them, means that you're not so thrown, and you can present your information in a compassionate and kind but confident way so that it isn't scary for the child, even if it's difficult information to hear. The other thing that's really important is to know what they're asking. So sometimes kids say, for example, "Is he going to die?" And the first instinct is to sort of, "Oh my gosh, here's the big question. Now I have to give all this information. How are we going to talk about this? This is so hard. It's going to be so painful." When in fact what they're asking is he going to die today? And if the answer to that question is pretty clearly no, that's really actually all they're asking. But if you don't wait and you don't clarify what it is they're asking, you're sometimes giving them too much information, or you're caught off guard in a way that actually you don't need to be. I think the other thing that's really important is to find out what they think. So a child has an interesting question about sort of what happens when somebody dies. And you may have your own views about it. You may have very specific thoughts about that, but you also may be providing way too much information, particularly for a child who's young. It can be a very simple way to say, "That's a great question. What do you think?" To hear where the child is. What are they thinking? They may actually have an entire frame and an answer for the question. They just needed to ask it to see whether you could tolerate the question. And so being able to find out what it is they're thinking and what it is they're asking to clarify misperceptions or misunderstanding, rather than launch into a huge explanation that is in fact not what they're asking for, can be very helpful.